Thursday night. It's only 9 o'clock. It's the Mikey and Dave show. Michael, nice to see you, darling. How are you? Hang on, I can't hear you. Why can't I hear Michael? Can anyone hear Michael? Mike, I don't know what's going on with your microphone. Can you hear me? Yeah, I can't hear you at the moment, darling. Anyone in the chat room hear Michael? Yeah, I just, for some reason, I'm struggling to hear you. No sound, speechless. And a lot of them are in there going, I can't believe it. He's speechless all of a sudden. Yeah, so I don't know what's going on, Mike, but your mic, Mike, don't seem to be working. Is this a good thing? Says Jesus Jones. I knew they was going to catch on, Mike, because they're very quick in the chat room, let me tell you. Yeah, we can't hear you, darling. I'll let you know as soon as we can. I've done nothing this end to not make that happen. Jesus Jones wishes to welcome everybody. And what he's saying here is Mark Sexton and the Police. He said this is a good watch. So if you fancy going watching that after the show or whenever you fancy, please do. Let's try Mike again. Mike, let's have a 1, 2, 3. No, still can't hear you. And the comments in the room would suggest that it's not just me. Your microphone doesn't appear to be working. There's something you've done on your system. You might have muted your mic or your system. I'm not too sure, but we can't hear. So we're just going. We always have technical issues. I want to say last week was a fabulous last half hour to the show. It got very heated, but do you know what? We was all gentlemen. We all walked away and we thought, you know what? Might not be my opinion, but they had their opinion nonetheless, and it's just as valid as everybody else. It's a very inclusive thing here, guys and girls. You're entitled to think what you want to think, and you're entitled to do what you want to do. Remember, the Stasi don't quite control us yet, and they're never gonna, because we're the English, the Irish, the Scots, and the Welsh, and we don't mess about. When we get aggrieved, we normally come out and it's a Punch and Judy show. And I think that show might just be starting. So, Michael, you can butt in whenever you like if you think you got your mic sorted, darling. No, we can't hear him. So why don't you drop back out and then drop back in? Maybe that might. Who used to do that? That was Chippy Minton, wasn't it, on Campbell Wick Green or something? He used to go. Do you remember that? We could just. That's it. Yeah. I don't know what that meant. All that. He's doing sign language. Yeah? The Irish, after the Irish woman said to the royal lady, totally agreed. Guys, look. We are what we are. We either come from the Emerald Isle or we come from the island of wherever, you know. What we try and do here is just try and get on with one another. We're all entitled to our opinions. And when your opinion and your inner standing is being silenced by a system, then you just realise how free you really are. Gasta Bum, in my view, it was Juju. I don't know what Juju is, but there you go. Juju. Is that Juju? Juju? Is that what you said? Cancelled show. Go home, people. Jesus Jones calling time here, Mike. He's like, why can't we hear Mikey? What's going on? Perhaps you're going to have to do some sign language for that. You went to nautical school, so I want to see all this business going on with the flag waving. Yeah, I knew he could do it. There ain't much he can't do. Let's be honest with you. So I'm going to have to carry the show for a second while. Have you got crayons and paper, Michael? Says Jesus Jones. And maybe, you know, my wife, bless her, years ago, the ex-wife, she phoned me up. I was at work. She said, I've lost my voice. I said, well, I'm rushing home because I don't want to miss it. And this is what we got with Michael tonight. We can see that he's like Boris Johnson. We can see the lips moving, but nothing's coming out. Anyway, they've lost Boris now. Boris is back in some under cabinet somewhere, sniffing some drawers of some little secretary somewhere, no doubt. And now you've got the Trustmaster, the Liz Truss, that probably couldn't make a timber trust, but she'll have a go. Could you imagine putting 50 politicians in the room of a senior cabinet and explaining to them that the light bulb needs changing and that one of them has now got to make a decision on changing the fucking light bulb. Now, you would have risk assessments, you would have mental health assessments, you would have checked the voltage of the bulb. Someone like me would walk in there and say, people, move out the fucking way, I'm changing the bulb. And we go and do it, we change the bulb. I'm sure when I was a kid, and I used to hurt myself because I was a winkle when I was younger, I was always out on the street like a cat pissing up all four corners of the room, excuse my French. I was out, I was everywhere. And I used to get myself hurt from time to time, get a blood gushing out of here and that. But people would always come to me rescue. They weren't worried about whether I had any infectious disease. Their first priority was just to put a bandage on your head or on your leg or wherever, and to fix you up and get to hospital. And then they probably weren't overly that worried then anyway, because we weren't all this blame culture back in the day. We just accepted that it was a decent thing to do, to help others and to look out for others. I mean, I was a Cub Scout, ladies and gentlemen, one, because I had a big fascination with the brownies, but I can remember helping ladies across the road. That was my duty, but they went across the road whether they liked it or not, because I insisted, and most of them probably accommodated me. But we grew up looking out for other people. You see someone in distress, you go and help them. You see someone drowning in a lake, you go and try your best to help them. And that's what we grew up in. I grew up in a generation where generally you thought of others before you thought of yourself. You had your self-preservation, you knew what you was, but you had a fondness and a niceness towards everybody else. And back in the 70s, people used to come together in their communities or in their areas. I don't like communities, I think it's a communistic word. But they used to come together, and if someone had an engine trouble or a front wheel hanging off, all your friends had come round, you'd have a few tins of, or a party 7, and the next thing you know, your motor's all sorted out, your mates ain't never asked you for a few quid, and then you're back on the road and everyone's a winner. But now, no one will come and change a light bulb for you unless they're making this pesky shekel, these dollar bills, and it's all getting out of control. It really is. Now, we've got a patriot in the movement. I think he's a Bristolian lad. Sometimes I do have to get a translator, but it's all good. And his name's Aaron with 1A, Aaron Walton. And he's coming under the heat a little bit by the local busies, because the busies want to silence him for very daring to speak out. If you speak out, ladies and gentlemen, then you're daring and you're putting the fudge right up the establishment. They don't like it. No, they don't like it. And they're going to come back and sort you out. And that's what they're doing to Aaron at the moment. So God bless him. And Aaron, I wish you all the best and hope you're all good. Michael, you back, sir? No, we can't hear you now. Mate, someone at StreamYard. I don't know what the chat room's doing. Alan Merritt's probably having a field day with this, got to be honest with you. Roy Pierce is going, Michael, I can't believe the peace and tranquility we're having tonight. And thanks so much for joining the show, Royce. And before you start, he didn't say that. I just made up. Too much static in Mike's hair. Mike's got a lovely set of locks, you know. And he's trying to find, I think, a decent barber. He used to go to our local one in Headcorn with the Turkish boys, and they're very good. They burn your ears out. And you come out, you're smelling like a hog roast, but you're looking good. And that's all that matters. Hey, Roy and Mr. Reynolds says, Charles Dernis Spencer. Charles, we're just going to pipe you on the vessel. Now you can jump on. Hi, Sonia. Hi, Sonia. I want to talk about, and that's everybody in the chat room, before you start and say that I don't come back in. Mike's gone again. I've had a friend of mine, bless her heart. She works in Baldwin's. Mike's lost for words. Never, says Cockney Patriot. Yes, you're true. We don't seem to be getting a peep out of him tonight. And but my friend Patsy, she works in Baldwin's in southeast London, selling Baldwin's, very finery for all your natural remedies. Baldwin's, they've always got say, even if you've got an ingrow winkle, they've got something that's going to dig it out. They're very, very, very good. Sarsaparilla is one of their biggest sellers. But she messaged me last week because her smart meter wasn't so smart, and because things have happened, this thing's gone out of alignment and she can't get, and it takes days for the housing association to come round and put the gas meter right, and she's going without eating, and then she gets all depressed and saying, Dave, I don't know how I'm going to cope with this, how I'm going to get through this year, and if I die, who's going to look after me dogs and all that. And I just honestly, I think to myself, right, that what the hell's going on? Why are we in this Hunger Games situation? Why is it okay for Bob next door to have gas because he's coming up with all these shekels, but Marjorie the other side, because she can't come up with the shekels, there she can't have gas. Now I thought we was an all-inclusive people, and I'm going to touch on that from Blackstone's Commentaries of English Law, which I suggest everyone go and read. And what it says is in Blackstone's Commentaries. Michael, can we hear you? No. Just try and play with your settings while I'm babbling on, and then if you think you've got it, just talk, and then we'll know when you come in. So anyway, Blackstone's Commentaries of England, it talks about gentlemen and learned gentlemen, and it talks about the fact that even whatever they come up with, that societal structure must be and live by, they must always
testing your speakers on StreamYard. Sounds like
I'm not sure when my internet went. I apologise. I'm back. Michael, can you hear me? Hands up. I don't know quite why we can't hear you. I do apologise, guys. My internet just went. Copy paste three. It's all stopped. Blah blah blah. So Michael's just disappeared, and I hope he's this is his fourth time now, so he can't say 3 times a day. I'm just going to show you something. He is speaking double Dutch. As you know, I've been very quiet on Facebook and all that recently, guys, because I've been learning, I've been studying, I want to become learned. I want to know how this country works, how the law works, what it means to be a gentleman in some respects. Not all of them, you know what I'm saying? But that's what I want to do, and that's what I'm learning, and it's all about the established laws of the land and the settled laws of the land, and that through operation of law, actually we're all secured. All of our positions are secured through an operation of law, and this is what I'm learning all about. Blackstone's Commentaries of England, etc., and learning about the different types of persons, like natural persons, artificial persons, blah 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 blah. And whether your person is attached to a body politic or it's not, or it's an individual. And these are the words, 2 words that are very, very powerful. And that is being an individual and being natural. If you're a natural man, then that's a different ballgame. But it's whatever we want to align ourselves to. And I guess the law in some ways makes us have that. Aaron Walton, what he's going through, I do believe, I'm not sure, but I've got a funny feeling and I don't know what's in police custody, whether it's his birth certificate, which is the established and settled operational law, which is a fact, or himself, his man. No sound with me either. Become the postmaster. Can you hear me? Or can anyone hear me? Can you all hear me? Hang on, let's have a look. Can you all hear me? Hang on, I'm going to post. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? If you can hear me, then I'm going to just... Mickey Ramo says, Jesus Jones can hear me. Jesus Jones says, Sam, will you, Dave? Mickey Ramo, God bless you, Mick. He says, I can. Right, so I'm just going to share my screen if I can. Can I share this screen? Present. Oh, hello. Present screen, share screen. Oh, they've changed the application on StreamYard. They've got a few little updates. So this is a site on with successors.ca, and it's a Discord group. And I'm not going to share this for too long, but I wanted to share this post. And it says here, persons are also all divided by the law into either natural persons or artificial. Natural persons are such as the God of nature formed us. Artificial are such as created and devised by human laws for the purpose of society and government, which are called the corporations of body politics. Now, if you put that into any of your notices, you're letting whoever you know straight away what the law is prescribed and what class that you wish to be with. So if you're the natural, that means that you are as God of nature formed us. The right of persons considered in their natural capacity are also of two sorts, absolute and relative. Absolute, which are such as appertain and belong to particular men, merely as individuals or single persons. Relative. So if you let them know that you're a single person and you're absolute, you're using all these words of the established laws of this land and this country, England, Ireland, Scotland, Wales, and all of a sudden you're going to start seeing the floodgates open, and you're going to find that your life has become relatively calm and that the sea's calm. I'm just going to check, make sure Michael's popped back into the room. Let's see if we can hear Michael right now. Michael, are you there?
Can you hear me?
Mike, I don't know what's going on, man. Let me try turning your mic off and then me unmute you. Let's see whether that... Try now.
Can you hear me now?
No, there's something your end that we're just not... Blackstone stated it's all fiction. Yeah, you're right. Blackstone did. So, yeah, okay, Mike. Wait and see what you can do. If all of a sudden he's gone. Right, so... And then what it says, by the absolute rights of individuals, we mean those which are so in their primary and strictest sense. I had to share this tonight because this was class. In that strictest sense, such as would belong to their persons merely in a state of nature. So you want to belong to your person in a state of nature, in which every man is entitled to enjoy, whether out of society in it or not. But with regards to the absolute duties which man is bound to perform, considered as a mere individual, it is not to be expected that any human municipal law should all explain or enforce them, for the end and intent of such laws being only to regulate the behaviour of mankind as their members of a society and stand in various relations to each other. They are consequently no business or concern with any but social or relative duties. Let a man therefore be ever so abandoned in his principles or vicious in his practice, provided he keeps his wickedness to himself and does not offend against the rules of decency. He is out of the reach of human law. Guys, I'm telling you now, right? I'm telling you now, in Blackstone's Commentaries of England, it is just absolutely fabulous. Has Mike got something else on? I don't know what Mike's up to. I can't understand why his microphone's not working. We have had some, we all have technical issues, guys, from time to time, don't we? And who would have believed we're almost halfway through the first half hour of the show. It's unbelievable. So getting back to Aaron Walton. Aaron, you've put something out there. You want to start an NGO, non-government organisation. We're looking at patriots to come and join that non-government organisation to get some clout behind it and to become and get into Parliament and bring Parliament back to an English Parliament. And that's what we need to do. Now, I know the root causes. I can feel it in my heart. I could hear Mike, but he had an echo. Did it? Oh, right. Okay. We'll tell him that when he comes in. I just couldn't hear him, and everything up on my system is fully up and working, no problem. So we'll wait and see when he comes back, which I hope he does, because he might get frustrated. I could hear Mike, but he had an echo. So let's wait and see. Wait until he comes back. So Aaron Walton and many patriots want to start this NGO, non-government organisation, to get into Parliament and to use the established laws of the land to bring back and make an English Parliament again. And as I say, I know who pulls the strings in this country. I know the people that are behind the mechanisms of all the money lending and stuff, but I'm not going to say who I know it is through fear of being censored and pulled down. And it's not that I'm scared. I'm not scared at all in any way, shape, or fashion, because do you know what? I'm not even scared of death. So I'm not even going to be scared of any other man. Let me make no mistakes about it. I'm not scared of death, so I'm not scared of man. That's it. Simple as. But the point is, I know who's pulling the levers of all this system. I know who's pulling at the monetary system and keeping everybody enslaved. Now, a few hundred years ago, well, quite a long time ago, this particular group of people, and it's not the main fraternity of this people, it's not the core of who they are, it's their banking system, it's the Ashkenazis, right? So what I'm going to say, go and research them. They're the one, we kicked them out of this country and we never let them back in for 350 years. 350 years. Just think about that. Just think how long 350 years in, and we kicked them out. We made sure that we rooted them out. And why did we root them out? And why did we kick them out? Because of the subversion through their money lending, what they were managing to do through their money. It's not about religion. It's not about anything other than the manipulation that these people have, and that they was using their monetary systems to take over and make themselves inclusive and whatever it is that they see that was inclusive, and then making everything else outside that exclusive, then you couldn't talk about it. So this is the reason why we kicked them out of this country and we expelled them for 350 years. And this is why we're in this situation that we're in. Now, look, don't get me wrong. I understand most people in this nation don't want to be learned. They don't want to know their natural rights. They don't want to stand up for their rights. And when it says in that you ain't got no rights unless you stand on, and that means no matter what, you've got to stand up for your rights. You have to scream from the rafters, and that's what many, many, many people are now doing in this country. So I wish Aaron Walton, and if they want me to have any part of that, I'm more than happy to. And Aaron himself is calling out all these so-called truthers that are charging an absolute fortune to people for their services, for setting up so-called trusts and all that, and making an absolute fortune at the cost of the people. And I absolutely think that that's a complete and utter travesty. And we've all had enough. We've had enough of councillors. We've had enough of police thinking they own us. The whole system. We've had enough of this usury. We've had enough of the slavery-based system. And we now as a people need to focus on coming together. We need to have some form of unity. So this non-government organisation, if it grows, if it gets massive, if you talk to all your friends and families and they want to come and get part of it, that's how we grow this. This is how we get our country back. This is how we get great again. And that's all that we want. Guys, I want you to be having your best life. I want you not to live in fear. I want you to know that when your front door's locked, someone that's going to come across that front door must have 100% without any reasonable doubt that they've got the right to be there, like you've murdered, raped or pillaged. I want an end to all this police laughing in your face when they steal your children and steal your cars and steal your own.
We've got to stop it.
We got it.
I got back feet.
Oh, hang
Oh,
on.
hang on. Sharing. Hang on.
Let me
remove.
Michael?
Michael?
No, I've still
No,
got
I've still got back.
If
If you've got your
volume
up.
Can't hear him
again.
Did him then? Hang on, let me
mute.
Michael? Yeah, the
Echo's gone.
I'm
going through your system
and coming
back.
But we
could hear you.
Oh man,
this is
straight
Don't let in.
What is
He's playing something then?
A
A bit of music.
Now
we're back to
I'm not going to say that.
Let's
Mike getting his stuff sorted out. Not the same with that, Michael. He's got tears. I don't know what's going on with what you got going on over there, Michael. But I mean, he's looking as gorgeous as ever. I mean, come on. And let's all send Maxine his missus some love. She's convalescing after an operation, so we send all of our love to you, bruv. From our houses to your houses, we give you that, and we wish her a very speedy recovery. What a beautiful woman. And yeah, I could hear Mike, says Joy, but I had an echo. And Carlos has just popped into the room. He's going, oi, oi, sausages. So yeah, we can't hear Mikey at the moment, Carlos. He's lost his voice. And it's very frustrating. But he's going to get some sign language. Or what about that video you sent with the blonde girl where she's putting them, just pulling them things out and they've got the words on them. And yeah, you've seen that one, haven't you? I'm not a sausage. He's a Frankfurter. Jesus Jones is a Frankfurter. So yeah, again, whilst we're waiting for Michael to sort this out, now we had you there, Mike. We was listening to you, and then you just went off again. I don't know what it was. Charles Ernest Spencer says I can hear him. Sam's all good this end, says Sonia. Hello, Sonia. I'm in the Wake Up UK chat room right now. Roy Pierce, Mike looks like the fish in my tank staring at me, waiting for food. Yes, that's because you can't hear him, Roy, and he wants to get his dulcet tones out. He loves coming in each week and talking to all you gorgeous people. And yeah, if you want to join the show as well tonight, ladies and gentlemen, the chat link is up on the YouTube channel, and it is also in the Wake Up UK chat room. So feel free to get over there and have a go. Michael, have we got you? Can anybody hear him? I can't hear him at all. And I don't know what the behesus, Jesus. You haven't got something else plugged in that you ought not to have it, like in a USB port or something like that, no? Hang on a minute. Oh, hello. I might have jogged him here. We might be back in business. We can hear, but feedback now, nothing. That's right. Oh, he's yeah. Have you got an internal mic on the computer? It might be that you got to go to your screen and just into your settings and check your audio settings. Pull your finger out, Mike, says Jesus Jones. Oh, they're giving it to you in the chat room. They're frustrated. They want to hear you. They want to see what's going on. If we can't get anything from Mike, maybe Jason will organise us a show in the next day or two where we've got a slot and we can bring him back in and we can have another hour and a half, hour and a quarter yarning about what he's been up to this week. He changed his camera. Did you change the camera? There's very vigilant people in this chat room tonight. Joy May says, oh, hello, I just heard something. They're like a little tap. There, it's gone again. We can hear, but back feed now nothing, says Joy May. Click the mic icon. Click the mic icon. Do some sign language, Michael. That's what Carlos is saying. Carlos, you make me laugh. Carlos the Pure Blood. What a beautiful profile name, ladies and gentlemen. I've got to be honest with you. We get some lovely profile names in the chat room, but that is my current favourite. And the second run up there, it could be Cockney Patriot, followed in by Jesus Jones on the whim, coming in from third place there. But Carlos the Pure Blood, that's like some sort of Viking shit. That's really, really good. Did you load the drivers, Mike? Mike, did you load the drivers? There's the drivers in the driver's seat. Do some sign language, yes. Mike's, I don't know. Maybe he's probably gone and he's probably smashing it up behind the scenes, ladies and gentlemen. So you can't see what he's up to. Anyway, listen, guys and girls, we hope you're all caught home, but you must. It's very important, you know, to really get learned. It's good to know. It just is. I think it's one of the most valuable things. And even Blackstone himself says, you know, a gentleman should be learned. A gentleman should know the law, and he should know how to be and how to do this and how to do that. And he should know that part of his duties and obligations is to take care of those amongst us that are not as fortunate as them. And this is the trick pony that they've forgotten. Michael, have we got you back, darling? We've got no video now and we've got no audio. So I can hear, says Steve Sellers. Smoke and sparks are coming from the back of his computer as he pokes the screwdrivers in it, mate. He's poking. Yeah, no, it's like a Harold Floyd movie, isn't it? It's like the old black and white stuff, the old silent movies. Yeah, I've got all of that. You're making a cup of tea. And the ferrets have got out the cage. The wife's kicked you out of bed last night because of the small penis syndrome. And you couldn't get over it. So she's run around the neighbours. Is that what you just said? Smoke and sparks. It could be. He might be bashing it up a little bit later. He gets frisky, you know, people. He does, especially when he's had a glass or two of Vimto. He likes to drink. Michael's going to go out tonight, but he stayed indoors to look after his poppet, didn't you, darling? And it's good, man. You know, when your wife's not well, I know you don't want to miss it. You need to stay at home. Michael, I do hope that you come back with your volume very, very soon. We've known, we have to know we are at a disadvantage if we don't. Yes, no, Joy, listen, mate, you're right, mate. I really do. I'm learning so much about the established law. I'm learning actually now the truth of what the birth certificate is. The birthright is part of the established law. It's a part of the operation of law. It's the settled and established stuff. Now, if you want to go and look at the Settled Land Act of 1925 and just read the first chapter in it, it says that when the individual steps forward, everything has to be, the dominion right has to be vested back into you. And if anybody in that thing fails in their obligation, then there's problems. And this is what, see, even the scripture, right? Now, I've held the scripture very close to my chest for many years, probably because of the law content and because it's book based on equity. And that's exactly what it is. And you can go and reference it and you can use it. And yes, sure, why not? But the point is, there's a bit in that scripture that says that the master goes away, and whilst he's away, the servants creep in and they run amok and they take over. And that's what we've had, guys and girls. I'm very sorry to say, but your local councillors, your local councils, your local police, your local courts, all of these people now absolutely believe they have a sovereign right to tell us, the people, what to do, but how far wrong they are and how naive in their inner standings are they, because the established law of the land says that you can do nothing to the prejudice of the people and that the power must remain vested in to the people. So we hold the power. We always have. And Dorothy just...
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
You can hear me?
Yeah. I'm going to shout now. You got the floor.
No. Don't do that, because I feel lonely. I've been sitting. I ain't got a clue what's going on with this. It drives me nuts. Anyway, Dave, do me a favour. Tell me what the word amen means. It's Hebrew. What's it mean? What's it actually? When you go amen, what are you actually saying?
It could be an abbreviation for maybe Amen Ra. I don't know. Amen.
That means, I made a few notes about this because I saw something the other day, and it means, well, someone's going to come and tell me what it is because there are a lot of clever guys out there. It actually means true solidarity. Okay, so I was watching I watch a lot of American stuff, and there's a preacher on there, and at the end of it, he goes, and he said, "And bless you all, amen, and a women." It's got to be the wokest thing I've ever heard in all my life. men and 8 fucking women. But I mean, are these people completely brain dead? I mean, is it? I mean, now that Musk is going to buy Twitter, I think we might get a bit of sense back. But the Chinese are having a go at him now because of they say he's not a nice person, so they're going to do him a lot of harm. You're going to be punished for what you've been doing. Free speech and all that. Like they got in China.
Why do we live in a world where everyone wants to punish someone else for speaking out or daring to think for themselves or do what they want for themselves and to question the mainstream narrative? Why is it we've got this mentality that you must be punished for that? I don't understand it. Never will do.
I think as kids, I think we all know what the word punishment means. It comes from our mum and dads. It's a slap around the back of the legs or a right kicking from your mum if you've been really naughty, done something really horrible. But that's all gone now. I mean, you can't beat up kids. You can't smack kids. You can't. Thank you, Jesus. That means truth. Exactly. So,
thank you, Jesus.
Jesus. What does a woman mean? A man, a woman, please. I mean, so we all get chastised by children, but now there's no discipline for children. They'll just call the police and say, hit me, and then you're in trouble for for all kinds of stuff. So that's where the problem is, that we've gone too far protecting children, so far that children now are clinically clean. I mean, every time they fall over, mummy runs out with a septic rag and rubs their legs down and does all the kinds of shit with them. So our children are less able to resist things that me and you could. When we sort of scrabble through the undergrowth from sort of 8 o'clock in the morning until you managed to get home at 6 o'clock at night, and you're out all day. Mum never worried about you where you were. From 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 years old, you were out in the street all day, mucking around, playing, doing the stuff you shouldn't be doing, scrumping, nicking stuff out the railways, doing all kinds of stuff like we all did, crossing the railway lines, jumping over the electric rail, taking the most appalling chances. But that's it. But when we did so, we got chastised. There's no discipline.
No, I can remember, Michael. Right, when I was 13 or 14, I got in with a few of my mates with those old disco tunes and all that were flying around the flat, and this girl, she was there. I got a bit fascinated by her, and she lived up Dulwich Way, so we walked her home. All the way up Lordship Lane, and I'm mucking around out there. I don't know, 1 in the morning. I got home at 3 in the morning because my mentality was, well, I got my own key now, and I can creep in, take my shoes off, creep up to bed, and no one will know. So I've come up the walkway at 3 in the morning, right, and I've put my key in the lock. And our flat on the North Peckham estate, you walked in and you had a set of stairs up the kitchen, another set of stairs up the lounge, and your bedrooms and blah, 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 blah. They were maisonettes. And as I opened the door, as gentle as a mouse, there's my dad sat on the second step up with both his feet on the 2 steps at the bottom. And I thought, fuck, I'm in for it now. And do you know what, right? I crept round him like a cat trying to creep round a sleeping dog, right? And he never laid a finger on me, but he didn't need to, because I was sticking to that wallpaper, mate. And I jumped in my bed and I thought I was lucky to not get an hiding then. And then I never did it again after that because I didn't like the consequence that come with it. And I learned a lesson that night, bruv. Let me tell you.
I've got to tell you, I'll follow that on. When I was about 55 years ago, I was into all kinds of weird one music, and I got into Pink Floyd, and Arnold Lane and all that. But
Brick in the Wall.
Pink Floyd. And,
Brick in the Wall. Brick in the Wall.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's Brick in the Wall. And I went to a club called the UFO, which was in Tottenham Court Road, and I saw Pink Floyd with Sid Barrett. And it was just and Dave Gilmour was just about coming into the group because by the time I got to see them, Sid Barrett was more or less a done deal. And I was about 15, and my dad, I had a key to get in, and I managed to get home. We got on a night bus, I think, or we walked half the way and got something, and I got in. It was about 4 o'clock in the morning. And I was slightly pharmaceutically disadvantaged, I have to say, that's absolutely true. My dad he was a trunk driver. He drove lorries up and down to Bristol every night.
Lovely.
And I just happened to sort of get to my front door. As I put the key in, I turned round and my dad is walking in. He's just got in. And he's going, "Are you going out or coming in?" "Oh, I'm going out." "Just going out." I just felt a bit. He looked at me and he picked me up. My dad was really strong. He picked me up. He said, "The next time you lie to me like that," he said, I won't be so gentle with you." And he sort of went banged me head against the back on the front door.
Yeah.
And he said, "Now get upstairs and go to bed." He said, "You're only fucking 15. He said, "What do you think you're doing?" So I said, well, my eyes were spinning like this, sort of speeding away. And so I sort of floated off upstairs. I lay in bed thinking, I really shouldn't be laying in bed here, because I've got no one to talk to, And so
That's a dilemma, isn't it? That's a dilemma.
Yeah, and I was getting and going to school and everything, still going to school and everything. But but discipline then was different. You respected your parents, you respected what they told you. Whether you did what they told you, you respected. You knew they were telling you was the right thing, but it certainly wasn't necessarily a good thing to sort of crush your mum and dad. But that's how you found where the bounds of where it is. And what you learned was it's their house, their rules. And you can push against it, but at some point you're going to rail against it. And when you rail against my mum, you got the shit kicked out of you. But there you go. That's a proper mum.
It made us who we are, and we're not bad people, Mike.
No, my mum was absolutely a real tyrant, or matriarch, real bash you up. She'd pick up anything and hit you with it. And I learned to negotiate talking to my mum.
Yeah,
I think that's why I became a good salesman, because I had to sell a good idea to her, which was, "Don't kill me, mum, today, because it's always the weekend." So you could beat me up. You can do it twice on Saturday.
It's only Wednesday. It's only Wednesday, Mum. On Saturday.
Yeah, I remember my mum sort of. This is everybody watching this has probably got a story like it, but I mean, my mum sort of. I got to about 12, 13, and I was ironing. My mum, by the time I got to 11, my mum said, "You want something ironed? You're gonna have to learn to iron it yourself." So, and I always still do. I don't like anybody ironing anything for me. Anyway, so I was standing ironing a shirt, and I said something. My mum said, "What did you say?" And she went, she hit me, and she picked the iron up. I thought she could hit me with it. She realised what she had in her hand, and she said it was still plugged in, because she went like that. So she put that down, and she picked up the coat hanger. She went crack, and she I went anyway, and I was sitting, I'm thinking, I've had enough of this. And I go like this to my mum. I said, my mum's called Ivy. I said, stop. My mum went. She stopped. I said, "Stop." I said, "Do you realise what you're doing?" She went, "Yeah, I'm beating you up." I said, "Yeah, you might be, but I've got to tell you this." I said, "I'm 12 years old now." I said, "But at some point I'll be 20, I'll be 22. I said, "And you'll love me because I'll be your older son. I might be up and married. You're proud of me." I said, "But," I said, so why don't you get the couple's consensus and say, I'm not going to hit you anymore unless you do something really wrong, rather than just beat me up for nothing." And she went, "What?" And she laid into me, and I was sitting up, defend all these things, and I stood up, and I was, really hurt, and I had tears in my eyes. I said, "I'm never going to cry when you hit me again, Mum." Is that your pussy? Is that your spare pussy?
Oh, easy.
Is that your what's that to your cat?
She's turned into the HMV dog.
Oh.
Yeah, she's got a little thing on the side of her head, and she keeps scratching it with her paw, so she's wearing a halo.
What's the name of that dog? Topper. Was it Topper, the name of the dog, the HMV dog?
I'm not sure. Could have been.
Yeah, it could be. Does it Topper, something like that? Yeah. Anyway, so that's it. So as far as that all goes, I mean, it's just
it's gone too far. But I mean, if people will inherit what they're going to inherit, and if they want this culture, which is see, look, I was chatting with a couple today, right? They're retired. He's got some issues with some skin cancers, and I haven't seen him for a couple of years, but he used to work for ex-council. They're nice people. They're nicely set up, and even they were saying, all this toilets and genders, and you can't say. And I said, "Do you know what it's about?" And they said, "What do you think?" I said, "I know what it's about. It's about attention seeking. It's about being recognized and people going, oh, look at them over there. Oh, look at them. And that's what it's all about. It's about the ego. It's about attention seeking. And that's all this is about, because we become quite so debased in this structure that when you stand there and you go back with Bowie years ago, put a bit of makeup on his eyes. Oh, it's a controversy, and all the Catholic priest was out on the radio. We're going to hang the Jesus. That's the times we lived in. But these people stood out, and they initially did it to seek attention. It's all about attention. Notice me, notice me, notice me. It's like a peacock putting its feathers up, and that's all it is with all this LGBT, this, that. Is all attention seeking. It's
the thing is, though, it all comes down to this white supremacy thing. Now, me, I've got a girlfriend who's black as Newgate's knocker. She's West Indian, born here, but she's West Indian. She's lovely,
lovely woman, lovely woman,
nice looking. She's a lovely girl, and that's it. But I don't know why we suddenly get this thing about being this white supremacy, because we're not really. How are we supreme to anybody? Because if you think. In 1895, the majority of people lived on about $1 a day. Yeah, about $1 a day. That's what the average normal working class person lived on $1 a day, and that's how it. There was nothing. I can't think there was anything being supreme about $1 a day. In this country, Queen Victoria and Prince Albert fought for, getting better housing and all kinds of stuff like that. They got shut up by the politicians and everything. But they did bring the country along, because we had lots of slums, and with the slums come, we remember the slums. I remember slums in when I was a kid. There were people living in slum dwellings. But with slums come disease. Lack of education. It became a place of criminality. It was the most appalling thing, and and that's how it was. However, so the point is that those people took themselves. It doesn't matter what colour they were: Chinese, West Indian, African, American, Venezuelan. Doesn't matter. They took themselves and they built better lives, and they didn't do it by being supreme. They did it by being fucking clever.
Amen.
Amen. Yeah, and saying to themselves, we are not prepared to live like this again. We need to go and make things better. And and with that came where we are right now, 130, 150 years later. We are so much better off than we were then. But to say that we are white supremacists, why are we white supremacists? You see, the thing is, when it all goes horribly wrong, is these people who want to talk about where we were trying to go back to. You've got unions out there. I think unions are great things. I really do. They're there to protect the man. They're there to protect the working class, and to make sure they get a fair crack on the whip, which is absolutely right. In any grievances, they've got someone there to speak for them, because some people aren't exactly articulate when it comes to get confused when they sit like talking like we do. A lot of people can't sit and do this, sit and talk to a camera, and have people listening thinking this guy's talking absolute cobblers, or I agree with everything he says. And hopefully I've got a consensus. Some people think it's good, some think it's bad, and that's why we do this, so you get a better argument. And it is a nicer format to sit and talk to people you can't see, and then they don't feel constrained by looking in the eyes and thinking, I can't say that, so I might offend him. I don't care if you offend me. I just want a response. So when you look about, we talk about going back to a communist plan, we want to renationalise this, we want to bring that into government ownership, we want to do this, we want to do that. Take the country back to nobody remembers what it was like in the 1950s, 60s and 70s, and when the unions ran the country, when the Labour Party now want to reform the NEC and bring back the unions to make government policy. They're not there to for government policy. People like Mick Lynch, who's a very articulate, clever man, I've got no doubt about that, but he's a communist. Okay, now, so when we talk about, when they talk about the Nazis, they talk about the far right and Nazis. What are the far right and Nazi party? What did they actually do? Well, they fought wars, which is awful. But then again, we've all fought wars and done horrible stuff. We all talk about what the Germans did, what the SS did, but we did some pretty horrible things too. Our Americans did. We certainly did some massacres. We did it in Ireland. We did it in India. We've done the British Army. We've done the most appalling things. But to the victor goes the spoils. The point I'm making is that you think what fascists are, the far right fascists. Oh God, these awful, terrible person. What about the fucking communists? What did they do? What did Pol Pot do? He killed about 5-7 million people. Pol Pot. He was a communist. Mao Zedong, Chairman Mao, Little Red Book, probably killed 100 million. Okay. Trotsky, Stalin, and even along with Putin. Well, we know Stalin killed 60 million. Okay, so they killed all these millions of people. Nothing said. Nothing said. Chairman Mao's top banana. But when it comes to Adolf Hitler, I'm not under any circumstance this he's no saint under any circumstance. He's a scumbag and a motherfucker, and he got in and he got his brains blown out. That was too quick for him. But he only killed about 15, or responsible about 20 million.
But did he though? But did he though?
Well, exactly. But the victors write the history, and it's only over time and over as things become apparent, like you get records are released and you find out stuff. Things that find out that that was taken for granted. No, it wasn't. Things like what happened during any war eventually comes out because there's always a record. It has to be a public record. So there's always something, always someone somewhere who knows more than what we believe in history, and that's why history is such a good thing that we can find out in hindsight and look back and think, we made a mistake there, and this is how it is. And now Putin, with the way he's fighting his war, it hasn't learned from history, hasn't learned that the Russian army has never been a fabulous army. The only reason the Russians won, really won, was overwhelming numbers and the help of the Allies. That's the Americans and the Brits. And my uncle was torpedoed 3 times. They got him on the 3rd time in the Baltic because he was in the Merchant Navy. And so I've got a family member who actually died supporting the Russians, and the Russians now saying we're the world's worst. Well, we're not the world's worst, and the Russian people are lovely. If you go to Russia, which I've been, and you go to Moscow, you couldn't meet a nicer bunch of people, friendly, warm, and welcoming, and they treat you really well. They're interested in you, interested in where you come from, and they're happy to sit and explain anything about when you go to Red Square, you go to the museums, you see all this stuff. It's fabulous. It's a beautiful place to go, and it's huge. And so it's only these old farts who sit in these palaces, okay, like Putin does, like Pol Pot did, who cover themselves in all this wealth and everything else, while the rest of the world is starving, while the rest of the people are starving. That's communism, champagne communism at its best. I mean, doing it for the good will of the people. You do as I do. You do as I say, but not as I do.
As Blackstone says in his commentaries, for a gentleman that is involved in the law and keeping everything, his first thought should be for the defensive of the most wretched and the most unlearned, and then work back from there. And that's where it's all gone so badly wrong. Grabby Grayips has just popped in. It's true. We need. There's a guy, Aaron Walton, I was talking earlier on in the show. He's a top patriot from, I think he's West Country. He's now asking a lot of the truthers and for all of us to come together and form a thing called the NGO, non-government organisation. And then we can grow as a mass and get into Parliament and with their own laws and their own legislation, weed out the bad stuff. Because as he says, the system's not a bad system. It's being run by bad people.
Exactly.
And that's the absolute truth. You've got if you've got a barrel of apples outside and there's one going a bit south, they're all going to go south. So you've only got one chance to throw them all away. The system itself is a very clever, very sophisticated system. It works well, and we've seen it in the past working quite well. However, it is being run by dirty, nefarious people right now. So maybe we can change things around, but we've got to all come together to do that. We've got to now start looking out for each other. We've got to start setting up in areas where we can all come and help each other. We need to unify as a people. We really do. And that's why I'm here, Mike. I'm here to try and help unify the people. And that's what we do every week when we come in here. Every week we keep trying to bring the same message. We've got to do something.
Yeah, but we've had this conversation before, Dave. But we've all said that I've argued that that you can't run a country without people there to run it. And rightly or wrongly, we've got people who've been doing these jobs, these mandarins sitting in Whitehall, doing the job for year after year after year for huge amounts of money, making all the wrong decisions that suit themselves, but not for what they're there to do, which is to serve us. They're civil servants, and the word is servant. Okay, they're there for us, not for them. Now we have got no say in these people. No say. They get appointed by the government to do a job, and they all end up being anti-British, anti-English, certainly, pro-EU, anti-this, anti anything working class, and look down and they've always sat and looked down their noses at us. I mean, when you meet these people, and I've met quite a few of them, I find them very personable. They are quite reasonable. They're very polite, and they really, really do what anybody else would do. They try to get along with you, but put them in their offices when they are they become different people. They're not working for the Brits. They're not working for us. They're working for a hidden agenda. And the hidden agenda is what we all know which is, when we got nothing, you'll be happier. The WEF, we'll go back to this. It's because they want it. They think they know best. They don't know best. But as I argued, I think the last couple of weeks, that if you got rid of this government and got rid of the way we run the country, what are you going to replace it with? Now, Mo said, well, we can run it ourselves. You can't run it yourselves. You have to have people who know what they're doing to run the economy.
We need structure. We need structure, but we need people not thinking that they own the other people. Now, look, you can see me screen. These are the 7 principles of public life, known as the Nolan principles, and they apply to anyone who works as a public officer holder. The principles also apply to all those in other sectors delivering public services. So that includes your councils, your DVLAs, all these public sector services. And it says number 1 is selflessness, number 2 is integrity, number 3 is objectivity, number 4 is accountability, openness, honesty, and leadership. Now, Billy Smith, James Oldgate this week has used this, and he has phoned up the DVLA, and he used the 7 Nolan principles with one of these guys on the phone. Now, this video is going viral, by the way. It's flying around the country and around the world. And this guy, he got him to admit that the DVLA hold the manufacturer certificate of origin, and he's now got them. They're sending him back the original manufacturer certificate of origin, and now Billy Smith, is sending the DVLA back their number plates, and all contracts are now going to be null and void, and he's going to be known as just traveling the land, which is his God-given natural person's right. And so he's done it, and he's now lit the fuse for everyone to follow suit. Now, I'm all up for structure. I'm all up for law. I'm all up for fairness, openness, integrity, and all that. However, we need to get rid of this corporate nonsense. We know who's driving this corporate nonsense, and the corporate nonsense is the hammer in the back of your head. We all love a bit of cash. Don't get me wrong. But when you can't pay something and they're kicking you out your house because you default on a mortgage, and they leave you on the streets, and they nick your car and leave you on the streets, and they nick your kids because they don't think you're bringing them up right within their societal structure, how they believe you to bring it. Now, that's a nonsense. They have no right to tell you how you can and can't bring up children. None at all. And they don't have a right to take your kids either, but they're doing it, and we're letting them get away with it. So if we can remedy that, and this is one of the ways which we're remedying it now, because now James Oldgate, once he gets his MCO back, and he said, he said to the DVLA, well, hang on a minute. He said, you're fucking me over because you and the garage are in cahoots, because when I buy that motor, which is the property which I have in my possession, I'm supposed to, by right, get that MCO, but you've got an agreement with the garage and you pay the garage for them to send you the MCO so that you've got leverage and you're claiming a superior title. Now, that's not open. That's not transparent. That's not everybody in the contract knowing what's going on. And this is why they're sending it back to him. We've had a major victory with the DVLA this week. Let me tell you, in the Truth Commitment, we really have.
So what you're saying is we can all apply. We can all apply.
Well, you bought your Lexus, but what the garage never told you was that they were keeping the MCO and they were going to send it to the DVLA, and that the DVLA were going to pay them for that privilege.
So I can ring up the DVLA and ask them for it then.
Demand it. Tell them you want the MCO and that you've been bummed over by them because they've not given you full disclosure, and that's discrimination. They're discriminating against you by not giving you full disclosure. I can't come into your house and say, "Oh, I'm going to put your bathroom and that's going to be $5,000," and then start going through your wife's knicker drawer and nicking all her knickers and then stitching your house up. And bodging all the wiring up and stitching you up and leaving you in a disadvantage. I can't do that.
Dave Spearfire makes a good point. He says, if you go out no number plate, so the first thing you do is going to get pulled by the old bill.
No, because the DVLA now will James is going to tell him what he's going to be displaying his motor with, and which is James 1, I do believe. And the DVLA come up on the police computer, just leave him alone because there will be no more contracts. Look, English law. If you type in English law into Google or DuckDuckGo, it will say English law is a law of contracts. That's it. So you nullify them contracts and you let them know that you're the natural man and that, listen, that's what I've been researching and studying lately, the Settled Land Act, the operation of law, the who we are. We're already something established. And the Settled Land Act says that once a man realizes that he's natural, that the Crown has to vest all of that back into him. And they can't fail in their obligation because it's settled and established. They have to perform. Now, the King of England, he's the trustee for all legal names. And the only way to get through that is through the Attorney General, because the Attorney General is the holder and the key keeper of all legal names on behalf of the Crown. So you want to switch things up, you want to get your dominion interest, because your dominion interest, your God-given dominion interest is in trust with His Majesty the King. However, once you re-establish through the Law of Property Act, the Settled Land Act, the Trustee Act of 1925, they're all 1925, these acts, then once you're set up and established again, there is no more trust. No more trust. No more trust talk. No more buying private trusts. Once you re-establish your dominion interest is placed in the monarch, and that the monarch is the trustee for all legal matters. That's why when you go to court, it's always the legal name versus the King of England or Her Majesty the Queen, because she's the trustee she was the trustee for the legal name, and now Charlie Sausage Fingers, bless his heart, can't play a guitar too well. He is now the trustee for all legal names. And this is the swindle. You were never told. I was never told. My mum and dad, when they went and signed a birth certificate, done it in the confidence that it was going to be a benefit to me and it would excel me into life and make sure that no badness come to me. And in many ways, that's been the case. But I have to question when a man and a woman who've lost their minds in uniform are dragging you out of a car for no real reason. You've not hurt anyone. And they're kicking the 7 bells out of you and smashing your windscreens in. That at that point alone, when that's going on, we have to say enough's enough. Draw the line in the sand. We need to bring this back to a level, and that's all we're trying to do.
Follow that.
Well, how does a man in a uniform?
The thing, you see, it's all very well to sit and say all that stuff, but for the average Joe out the street, he couldn't go and fight that because he doesn't understand the jargon. He doesn't understand how to hit the buttons.
And there you go, because the learned individuals that allegedly run this, the gentry, whoever they are always supposed to be in the forefront of their mind, the most wretched and the most ill, the one with the least. They're the ones they're supposed to be looking out for. And if we had a system of governance that actually repatriated people, that put the greatness back into them and put you... Look at it this way. If you've ever walked down the road and you're having a glum morning because the dog's pissed in your cornflakes and you're looking good, you're walking down the road and someone says to you, my word, and you look up and they say, wow, you look fabulous today. You're going to go, Oh my word! A stranger that I don't know has just said, "I look fabulous," and all of a sudden your spirit's going to be lifted because they've made you feel good. Now, I would like to see a system of whatever, where whatever level you was at, that you was made to feel good, that you was put back straight, and that you was put back on the level, and you said, "Look, you know what you did work." Level it all out, mate. Why have we got the homeless? Why have we got all this stuff going on? Why have we got bailiffs kicking people's doors in with this? It's got to change. And I want to say one thing: if you're in the police and you're tuning in and you're watching, they're coming for you lot next. There is no way you're getting out of jail because they want it all. And once they've dealt with everyone else, and then you're hanging in there, when you can't pay your gas and electric bills and your council taxes, they're coming for you. They're coming for your house. They're coming for your kids. So if you think, if you're in a uniform, that your job is secure and your position in this world is secure, my friend, let me tell you, you have put your faith into a very false idol, because they're coming for the fucking lot of you.
Did you talk about police? Did you did you see that thing? There was a clip. There was that thing on Crime Dodge. The guy who called a copper a dickhead, and the copper sprayed him with got him on the floor, sprayed him with mace, with the pepper spray. Got and six police cars, seven policemen got to this house and arrested him because he called him a dickhead.
Really?
The guy called the copper a dick. Now, you can swearing. There's nothing.
There's no law against it.
No law against swearing. Calling a policeman, you can call him anything you like. There is no law against it. Now, for me, that guy was then wrestled to the floor, and it was on film, and he's hitting him. Stop struggling. And this guy, what have I done wrong? What have I done wrong? This guy, no, you're under arrest, breach of the peace. You know, you have occasioning what is it? So like you'll smash the window, which occasioned a breach of the peace. Right. So that's something that you can't be arrested for breach of the peace.
Where's the intent? The
guy called him a dickhead. That's it. That's all he did. He called me a dickhead. And he's standing on his own property, and the cop was standing there, and the guy comes to his place and said, "Get off my property. Get off my property." I'm telling you, get off. And he didn't. So he committed a trespass. His property, and he came on it. He wasn't invited. And the guy was fighting him. He said, I'm doing you for assault on police. He's going, you're resisting arrest. He said, what are you arresting me for? If I'd been his wife,
that don't stand up in court now. That don't stand up in court.
If I'd been his wife, I'd have gone down there. I'd have gone down there with a fucking pickaxe and smashed the cop round the back of the head with it. Say, get up my fucking husband, you bastard. You know, because that is bang out of order. And she would have been absolutely right to defend her husband, who's been assaulted on his own property by some man, not a policeman. That man wasn't a policeman. This guy was an arsehole. He was a complete dickhead, you know.
In their own stuff, Mike, it says that a police individual can't take offence by someone using words, but if them words match by intent, that's a different story. If you're calling a policeman all salty names and you're going after him with a knife or a gun, or you want to bash the shit out of him, different story. Because at that point, he has the right under the natural law to defend and protect his own life.
That's right.
We all do. And but they've took it too far. Now, quite a few years ago, a friend of mine went into court. He'd called a copper a cunt and told him to fuck off. And the people on the bench, my mate was there, and they said to him, do you recognise that man stood there in the dock, PC dickhead, 1, 2, 3, 4? And he went, yeah, I do. Clear as day, Your Honour. Don't worry about that. I recognise him. And he said, on such and such a time and such a date, did you call PC so-and-so there a cunt? He said, yeah, I did. Fucking right, I did. Oh, he said, and fabulous. He said, and then so-and-so, did you tell him to fuck off? He said, you bet your bottom dollar. Oh, my word, yes, you best. And the cop was sniggering, laughing around, and the judge he went, excuse me. And they said to my mate, yeah, what's the matter? He said, right, before you carry on, would you like me to give you the Oxford Dictionary definitions of the words and the context in how I used them? And they went, next case, thanks for coming. Go home, have a nice day. Have a nice day. So that's the power of the words. If it's in the dictionary, you might not like the words. They're crude, they're vulgar. Back in medieval days, to call someone a cunt was your best mate. Yeah?
That's
what it meant in medieval times. And the word fuck off, you can use the word fuck in so many. It could mean you've stabbed your foot. It means you've had a close shave with a motorbike on the road, or your missus ain't left you because she's caught you with her best mate. It can have so many different meanings, and that's the thing. You define the word. Now, I've been into court and I've seen prosecutors and barristers when they go into, especially a Crown Court case, eh? Yeah, they have their papers all folded in full with a wax seal in the middle, and then they undo it, and then they have the case, they have all the particulars, and then they have the thesaurus, which is the definition of the words. So that means if that case goes south or west, whichever it's won or lost, that then gets sealed back up, it goes back in the vault, and that's your case law, which you can refer to forever and ever and ever. And that's what they do. You have to define your words, because me and you could be walking down the road and someone behind us shouts out, "Oi, you," and we're going to both look round.
That's right.
So it means that you is plural and it can be singular. So they trip us up on language. They really do.
You can't wolf whistle a woman.
Oh, of course you can.
No, you can't. That's sexual harassment. That's an arrestable offence now.
Oh, my cousin taught me how to wolf whistle.
They can bring. I could get your weapons for a wolf whistle. I mean, walking down the street, you see a woman. If you was to say, like, I was in Islington, and a woman, I walked down, and I was all dressed up, and I tipped the hat on and I said, "Wow, you look fabulous." She went, "How dare you? You've got no right to look at me in that fashion." I went, "Oh, fuck off," and I just kept walking. I went, "Fuck off." What is that? I mean, what is this, women? I mean, they're not women, are they? I mean, most women don't know how to dress anymore. They've forgotten what it's like to wear a frock.
Do you know what? Right?
T-shirts like slugs.
Yeah. If I wouldn't mind if their level of offensiveness was measured. If they got so offended when they were put with the knowledge that children are being abused and sexualized in this country, that people were being abused by the system and beaten up and raped in police cells, and thrown into prison for no reason, I would get it if they was to get so incensed at them things as well. But no, they only get triggered by what the politicians say they can get triggered by, and that is a mental illness.
Well, Dave, yesterday, and that's Suella Braverman, who's now Home Secretary, she seems to have the right idea, because she's actually, she was talking about everything like stopping these people coming and say, I'm a refugee because I've been trafficked. That's all stopping. They're going to make it, everybody who gets here, doesn't come in, it's going to be illegal, they're going to deport them. But what she actually said was, for the first politician I've heard say it, in any authority, that she said, if you want to know what's going on with this country, she said, you've got to go to Rotherham, Telford, Luton. You've got to see what these grooming gangs have been doing. Now, Alan, if he's watching, bless him, and I hope he is. I mean, that's the sort of thing that would make him feel like at last somebody's actually listening. Whether she carries out what she's going to go and do, and there's no reason to think she won't, because when you start saying things like that, you set yourself up kicking the nuts. But I mean, I just hope that this new Home Secretary starts taking things seriously and getting like the police have now, all the 45, I think it's the 43 chief constables in the country have actually said now, anybody that's burgled gets a policeman. Anybody.
Good.
When's the last time anybody got burgled and they got a policeman round?
No.
I'll send you around next week. Oh, here's a crime number. It's all you need for insurance.
So, but look at that not the grooming thing. There was something kicked off the other week up north in that area with something to do with.
Oh, you mean the Hindus and the Muslims?
Yeah, but when I see that, I'm thinking Albert Pike's predictions are going to release the Muslims against the nihilists, and it's all going to. And I'm thinking, fucking Albert Pike's predictions, the 33-degree Mason is coming absolutely bang on true. But where's the BBC? Where's the ITV? Where are they?
Oh, didn't you see that the politician who was on there? They were talking about, they're trying to get smart with him. He was talking about what about how awful is the infighting going on at the Tory party conference, all that. And the guy said, well, yeah, he said, every party gets that. He said, I didn't see too much of that. He said, at every party conference, you're going to get rows and people are going to do this and do that. He said, but and they said, oh, well, funding this, funding. He said, well, we're talking about funding. So we're talking about saving money. Let's get rid of the BBC. And the presenter goes, well, we're not here. She said, well, he said, we save £5 billion a year. out £160 a year out of people's pockets if we got rid of the BBC and sent them on their way. He said, why is it right that Gary Lineker gets £1.3 million a year? What does he do? I mean, he was a great footballer. I like football. He was a good footballer. Is he actually worth £1.3 million a year to do an hour to do an hour a week on Match of the Day? No. No. So what are we paying him for? What are we paying people like Fiona Bruce to do? £500,000 a year. To do what? To do
So
the
she can go and buy a line of Charlie and do it before she does the Antique Roadshow.
Well, exactly, yeah, whatever. I mean, so all these people earning hundreds and hundreds of thousands of pounds to do actually what? To sit in front of an auto cue and read the news. The only one I've got respect for is Hugh Edwards, and I think if you're going to give a knightle to anybody, I think he did brilliantly when the way he dealt with the Queen's funeral and the whole weeks of that going around it. He held the BBC together. He made it look easy. It made it look relaxed, and he took a lot of stress out of it by the way you approach that. And I think that's what journalism is about, not getting people to change, to accuse people of false, making false fake news, because that's what happens. You go to America, it's full of fake news. Go at MSNBC and all people like that. They just talk bollocks. They're talking absolute, and it's anything anti-Trump. I mean, whether you like Trump or not, it's not the point. The point is, he's still a human being, and whether you agree with him or not, whether you agree with it or not. Yeah. Hang on a sec. I didn't say what Queen, though, did I?
No, darling. Darling.
I'm not talking about Gordon and Tart. I'm not talking about them two. No.
He's on you mate. He's on you like tomato sauce on a sausage sandwich.
I'll find out where he lives.
You've got to go and see his boat, mate. His boat is fantastic. He's got all the neon lights on it. He's decked it out. He looks like a proper press, like Club Tropicana. It is.
Mo's boat.
Oh, it's beautiful. No, Cockney Patriot.
What's it like? You got a picture?
Yeah, it's a man in the boat, and he's having a nice time at the moment.
Steady
now. Royalist Mike again. Canvey Island. He's on the Fraggle Rock, as he calls it. Fraggle Rock.
That got in the 1950s. It was swamped by a massive tidal surge. A lot of people got drowned. In the 50s to Canvey Island. And in fact, if the SS Montgomery blows up, there'll be a tsunami that'll cover half a Kent because it's got 1,400 tons of old.
I've been out on it. I've not been on it. I've been out on the swell. My mate's dad had a boat years ago. He was ex-Royal Navy, and funnily enough, one of the dudes that he spent a lot of time in the Navy was as a judge in Maidstone Crown Court in the 80s called Pickles. I don't know what his first name was, but he used to drink in the Ferryman after we'd have the River Festival and all that. And we'd be in the Ferryman, and I'd be sat there with me mates and me mate Taffy's dad, Roy, he's not with us no more, and Pickles. And when the police used to come in at closing time, he used to look at them and say, "It's okay, lads," and say, "No worries, sir," and that place would stay open. And I always thought that was a travesty, because I thought, well, hang on, lawmakers can't be law breakers, and clearly in your own law you're breaking it. But nonetheless, and I remember sitting next to Pickles and we're chatting, and he said to me one day, and he said, "David," he said, "everything in the world isn't as you see it as." And I never forgot that. I never forgot him mentioning them words to me. This is a high circuit judge. I didn't have a clue, man. I'm 16 years of age. And he said to me, "The world is not as it seems." And I'm like, what the fuck does he mean? What is this man? So I didn't have a clue. And even now, do I understand? Maybe I do. Maybe I understand now the difference between the natural person and the artificial person and the body politic and all that. Who knows? I don't know. But yeah, he told me that back in the 80s. But that bar used to stay open, Mike. And the police should have come in and said, "No, sorry, sir, we're all."
No. I mean, that only pubs around where we lived, around the police. You see the police in there. They do all kind of weird and wonders. I'll look at that Cockney Patriot. I'll look at that. I will. I'll have a look and see a boat. But as it happens, how about, never mind about looking at how about an invite? Me and Dave, we could come and. I will come and break a bottle of champagne over it. Well,
what a weekend!
Glasses.
What a weekend that would be, wouldn't it?
No, we could. I tell you what we could do. We could reenact the Dunkirk. We could all go across the channel, pick up a load of cheaper drink, and come back again. What do you think? I mean, it's a great idea.
I like that French wine you get in EastEnders out. They're called Dog's Bollocks. I like that. They do a nice bottle of plonk out there, Michael. Let me tell you, and it's called the Dog's Bollocks.
Was it Rumpold's Chateau Thames Embankment?
Chateau Thames Embankment. Yes, Chateau Liz Truss.
Blanc de Blanc. Absolutely. But I mean, yeah. So yeah, I think we should. I think Cockney and Mo should invite us down for a little boating experience. You know, down where it is. Where Cockney? Where are you? Whereabouts are you?
Fraggle Rock is on. Fraggles Rock is out on Canvey Island, isn't he?
We could be there in no time, Dave. We could.
He wants to take us to Fallaraki. Fackaway.
Fuckaway. Very good. Yeah, that's brilliant. Do you know the Sultan of Brunei's Prince? What was his name? I can't remember. He had a huge boat, and he had two tenders next to it. It was called Nipple 1 and Nipple 2.
You couldn't get away with that now in woke Britain, you know. No. Gabby, nice to see you, Gabs. Thanks for tuning in as always, Gabby. It's nice to see you, darling. And you know, I don't know if it's past your bedtime. It's coming up near mine soon, Michael. We're past the yard arm on this show, but because you didn't come in early, I thought we'd have a few bit longer, you know.
Yeah, it's good, isn't it? Yakking away like we do. You know, we're like two old ladies, really, aren't we? You know, two old queens sitting there like going
Do
you know, that's something I really miss. That's one you really miss, you know. You know, as a kid, like, you know, you always just see people stopping in the street, say, "Hello, mate, how you doing?" And they sit and chat away. My mum, she knew everybody, like your mum did. They sit there, get on the road, pull out a fag, and their mates sit and smoke the fag together. While they're talking and gossiping away about this and that and the other, then my mum would walk another 10 paces and be someone else. There'd be another 10 paces. I mean, I used to go to Deptford High Street with her on Saturdays, and I'd be sort of sitting holding around like this. I was about 5 or 6, or perhaps even 4 or 5. And because she was born just off Deptford High Street in Albury Street, she used to walk from one end to the other, and it'd take all afternoon. She did all the shops where she went in, like there was one called Pea Cries, and you went in there. She paid money off the sheets and the things that every week. Then she went to another shop. She bought our little suits for summer for Christmas, and she paid some money off that every week. Then she went to someone else and did this. But the treat was that we went to the German butchers, and the German butchers did peace pudding and saveloys. And to this day, I've never eaten peace pudding and saveloys. And they came up with a bit of newspaper, right? And there was a big bit, and I was only about 5 or 6, and this great big sausage and a hot peace pudding. And I just shoveled it in. I thought, life doesn't get better than this. And it really hasn't.
Is peace pudding made out of chickpeas or lentils?
Chickpeas, isn't it?
It's chickpeas, isn't it? Peace pudding. You can't. My uncle loves a bit of peace pudding.
That's one thing I really miss about, you know, as you're older. You know, I look at kids now out with their mums and dads, you know, and I look at them and I look down and, you know, you have to be careful about what you say because, you know, because people get a bit funny now because, you know, you can't say about kids because they think you're a pedo. But you say, and I looked at one bloke and I said to him, I looked down your little boy and I said, it was me. You know, it was like 70, 60 years ago, 65, that was me. You know, and it's gone just like that. Yeah, and like Cayman said, we had community spirit back then. Absolutely right. And it was under successive governments that destroyed like places where me and Dave come, South London. Deptford was absolutely ripped to pieces. My mum in Albury Street lived in where Nelson used to live, in Nelson's house. This beautiful 17th century house with a big portico at the front and everything. And they were going to rip that side of the street down. And they ripped 17th century houses to make way for progress. And then for some reason they ran out of money, and thank God, because these houses are still standing there. And they had 16-foot ceilings. They're huge, great ceilings, you know. So they must have been awful to. And in the basement, they had big tunnels that used to go down to the Victorian Yards. They were all bricked up, but they used to go down. You could walk down to the Victorian Yards at Deptford Docks, which is where Peter the Great learned how to build ships in the 17th century. He came from Russia, Peter the Great, Tsar Peter the Great, came and learned how to build ships at Deptford Docks and Blackwall and places like that. Where some of the finest ships. I think was it Victory built.
I think Cockney Patriots trying to get us going on a diamond run here. He wants to go to Amsterdam's.
Does he? Which way's Hull? Rule Britannia. But yeah, I mean it's so it'd be great. I mean the thing is, I don't know why we're not being invited, Dave. As it happened last week, you were talking about buying a boat.
Oh, do you know what I am?
I told you I will buy it with you.
It's all about, since I've had my Velomobile, I explore this sense of freedom when I'm out in it on my own. I use it in different.
We could have a boys' own yacht, that doesn't go anywhere, but moored outside the pub, and I'll never forget.
Moored outside a pub.
Many years ago, a friend of mine's dad was a publican, and they had a pub in Nunhead. I forget. I can't remember the name of it. But they had a pub in there, and there was about eight publicans all around South London. All were mates, and they decided they were going to go on the canals. It's a true story. They were going to go on the canals. So they went. They got this barge, and they set off, and they went about. Got to the first lock, got through, and in that lock, and the other side there's a pub, and 2 weeks. They stayed in the pub, fucking weeks, and never got any further than 3 miles.
No,
and that to me, that's what I call a proper busman's holiday. I mean, they didn't go anywhere. I think they all got taken to be detoxed after it. But they drank themselves.
Seriously, when I was growing up, right in the late 70s, early 80s, I can remember some of my mates like coming into school and saying, "Fucking hell, Dad's just come in." Well, what's the problem? Well, we ain't seen him for a fucking week, and he's come in, he's legless, and he's been in the boozer all week. And I'm like,
exactly.
Fucking hell.
Look, Dave, look at the screen. I got all the navigation sewn in the lot. Fish finders can have rods. We can go out a day's fishing. I'll bring all the beer. Dave could take me down the back of his velo. You could do all the peddling. I'll give you the directions.
I've been out in it today. That's why I've got this on.
No, Dave, we'll take you up on that. We could do that. Go on days fishing.
Oh, mate, he's got to get it in the water first and make sure it's watertight. Funnily enough, I went round the dude's house the other night to pick up a really decent bike stand. And on his drive, he's got like a little sailing boat for like lakes and stuff. But he's got this other big boat, which you take out on rivers or seas. And it reminded me of the one that Mo's just kind of bought. And I thought myself, I could see myself just spending loads of time on one of them. I really could.
If you want to buy a boat, I will buy one with you.
I'm watching videos at the minute where all these sailing boats are going out like Bay of Biscay and around Spain.
You haven't said no and you haven't said yes. Don't you think it's a good idea?
Yeah, no, hang on a minute. Let me just get this out. But the orcas, they're attacking the boats. The killer whales are now attacking the boats, and they're going after the rudders and the keels, and they're ripping them off. No one's sunk yet recently, but it's like over 300 attacks a year. The orcas, a pod of orcas, are attacking sailing boats, and like for an hour or two at a time, and you've got to turn your engine off, pull your sails down, turn all your sonar and all your thingies off, and just float. And then they spend about an hour and a half, 2 hours trying to terrorise your boat. They're all going for the rudder. They come inside on, and they're grabbing the rudder with their mouth, and they're trying to snap it off. What the fuck's pissed these orcas off? I don't know.
You
know what I mean? So it's interesting, isn't it?
Dave, unless you've got something about 40, 50 foot, you ain't going to go around the Bay of Biscay. Not those Atlantic swell that comes in there. No,
they're going around in them sailing boats 24 foot long. Lovely.
Well, I wouldn't. I mean, I'm an old. I look great. I look great in blazer and trousers.
Chris Dunn's going, don't forget your license. Actually, on the sea, you don't need a license. It's advisable for a boat under a certain thing to do a course and
you do. It is.
You don't need a license on
that. No, you don't. Unless you're taking like paying passengers, you need a master certificate and all kinds of weird ones.
That's what I mean. That's a and that goes to prove a
For me,
point.
it does.
If
Yeah,
you're in commerce,
yeah.
that's because you're in commerce. You need a license because you're transporting people about. It's the same with us when we're on the road in our motors. We don't work for government. We're not government agents. We have a natural right to travel, and that's what Billy's just done and smashed the DVLA to pieces this week because he's saying, "Well, look, if you ain't going to do what I'm asking, that means you're holding me in slavery, and I need to speak to the man or woman that's presuming to have the authority to keep my property." And if that's the case, then I'm going to bill you for my slavery because I'm not not being a slave for free. I reckon the DVLA right now, if there's anyone that watches that works for the DVLA and you want to have a little whistleblower, I imagine most employees at the DVLA are sitting there at the minute going, fucking hell. They're getting so many calls and emails with regards, I've got natural rights. The world's waking up. Man's coming back in tune with his natural God-given rights. We don't need a fucking license to travel. We need a license to drive coaches, lorries, etc., but not to travel. Not to travel. We don't.
Well, that's not a really. They call it a license. It's actually a certificate, like the PSV and HGV, heavy goods vehicle. But I mean, that's a certificate to say you can drive it. The license is actually what we have is a driving license. They're just add-ons. So so it gets back to the license means you're breaking the law. You're breaking.
No, yeah, licentious behaviour is begging to commit a crime, and then all you need to be done is to be caught in the act. So when you're caught speeding, and then you write to the police, I weren't this, I weren't. It doesn't matter. You've begged to commit under licentious behaviour because we don't know who we are. And they've only got to catch you doing what you begged to do, and then bingo. That's why they won't answer any of your questions, because you don't understand contract law. And it's as simple as that.
They don't like us, really, do they?
Well, I think in some ways they have a reverence for us. And I'd say that a lot of coppers now are realising that there's something majorly has gone wrong. And they're looking for avenues to change it. And I would say, come with the people, stick with the people. We're not talking nonsense. We're talking God's honest truth. And we only do this because we feel the need to. If things in the world weren't going on like they are, Mike, and if police weren't bashing people and tasering the shit and doing all sorts and pulling Tampaxes out of black girls because they think she's got drugs up her fanny, there would be no need for us to be doing these things. Well, but what they're doing is not natural, and it's not normal, and it is dictatorial. And as a people, we've always come out of the woodwork when and various people from all walks of life, bakers, plumbers, carpenters, doctors, lawyers, whoever, greenkeepers, in the past, farmers, whenever they've seen that their rights and their freedoms are being taken away, they've looked up and gone, hang on a fucking minute, we're not happy about this. And they've always managed to try and figure it out. And that's why we've had a glorious revolution. That's why all these things have happened, because we got so debased to such a point. And earlier on in the show, I was saying back in the 1200s, we kicked a certain fraternity of people, the money changers in this country. We kicked them out of this country for 350 years.
The Jews.
Now, and not the Jewish people, but the Ashkenazi Jews, the money lenders, the ones, the Khazarians, whatever you want to call them. We kicked them out of the country because we couldn't fucking take anymore. We didn't want it. We was desperate. We was, and maybe when you look at the rise of the National Socialist Party, it's similar to what's going on in this country now. It really is, because the reason why he did what he did was because he was fed up with seeing the German people get kicked out their houses, not having a meal in their belly, and while all these other people are laughing at them and saying, well, we're having a fucking nice time. And that's through desperation, these things rise. And the more desperate that this country gets and things seem to get, the quicker that the rise will happen. So
that's where it all starts coming up, that unhinged, because what happens then is these people who are like these minorities then get theirs. They are found out, and they are then taken the task, and people do take action against them, which is sometimes it's justified, but most times it isn't. A lot of
No.
people who I think who I feel have taken advantage of this country are in government or have been in government, and it really isn't to me. Well, how can I put it? It doesn't feel right that these people continuously get away with pushing us around, doing what they want. We run this
No.
country, our country.
It's
We
got to
do
stop.
and
It's got to
we
stop.
put we it all comes down to trust, and they betray the trust time and time again. You've got the Conservative Party been in 12 years, whatever it is, 14 years, whatever it is. Have they been here too long? Probably. But what are we going to put in their place? The Labour Party? No, the Labour Party are going to take us right back to the 70s. They're going to go back to the unions. They're already winding up the unions. You've got people like Angela Rayner, who hates anybody conservative. She put us all in prison and have us all murdered. You know, what it seems to me, she's so rabid about the dislike for the Conservatives, and you've got a lot of people out there who really don't like people like me and you who've got views. They don't want people who can think. They want people who are sheep. You know, and it really comes down to two things really. You either with them or you're not. That's it. That's the Labour Party. You're either going to be.
That's party politics. There was a time period for 600 years in this country where that stinky fucking building called Parliament just had independent people in there. Now, if you got rid of party politics and you went back to independence and you had an English Parliament, yes, things would take long for laws to be passed and be established. But do you know what? That's a good thing.
But Dave, what do MPs actually do?
Nothing.
What are they for?
Nothing.
We got Helen Grant.
Don't swear. It's gone past the yard arm.
What does exactly? What does she actually do?
Nothing.
Helen Grant. Nothing. So what we paying are getting what? They end up getting about 150, 200 grand a year out of it. Expenses.
Mate, they should all be performance related. If they don't do the job, they're out. If they don't have calluses on their hands, and they're not like if you're running for transport, if you don't have calluses on your hand and run a big tarmacking firm, I want to know what the hell's going on. And to look at what goes on, we've now got a health secretary that ought not to be an health secretary because she knows nothing about health, but she will pontificate that you can't do this, you can't have sugar, but you've only got to look at her and think, well, then you don't know nothing about health.
Nothing.
And there you go. That's
the thing. I mean, you've got this Kwasi Kwarteng, whoever his name is. He's a successful businessman. He's done all kinds of weird and wonderful stuff, which is fine. He's run a business, absolutely, but he's never run a country. He's never run a budget of like 2 trillion quid. He's never run anything like that. I mean, they just sort of sit there and say, we're going to do this, we're going to take off the 45. I mean, they said that we're going to take 45, we're going to scrap the 40, and then they turn it, because Michael Gove, who as far as I'm concerned, should be put against the wall and shot, because the man he's not a politician, he's a troublemaker, okay? And he's a baby. I didn't get what I wanted, so I'm going to make it worse for everybody. Okay, so there's a man who plots against his own party to do what? So he can sit in opposition while the Labour Party go back and do what? Take the country back to the 70s to where we never want it to be again. You know, when the Labour Party were almost allowing the unions to do what they wanted. They don't know nobody knows. I remember, but in the 50s when Jack Dash was in charge of the ports, and that's why containerisation came fast so quickly, because the people in the Royal Docks, the Millwall Docks, and the Surrey all got sick to death of these people telling them we want more and more and more. And in there they went, fuck you. And they went down to Tilbury and they brought in containers. And that was it. And then we had things like Chobham Farm, when it went about print and all that stuff. And the dockers were going absolutely nuts. But it was their own fault. It was their own, because you cannot keep taking more and more and more money. when there is no, you can't just invent money like the government does, goes out and print it. That's what we've got inflation. But I mean, you cannot allow people who are not in government, people who like this Mick Lynch, who I've got great respect for because he does stand up, but he's a communist and he wants to take the country back into to run it as a communist state by nationalising everything. This country can't afford to nationalise anything. It doesn't have the money anyway. How are they going to nationalise all the? Oh, when all the train lines come up again, we're not going to let them renegotiate their contracts. Well, it's about time we did what every other country in the world does. We'll have driverless trains. We don't need drivers on trains. I mean, all like Crossrail, the DLR, they've got no drivers. We've got in parts of the country, they've got trains running with no drivers in.
Have
No.
they?
Yes, they have. So you don't need drivers on trains. Now, so as far as I'm concerned, it's time that we use what we have, which is the ability to have computers that run the railways. We don't need people running the railways. A computer can do it for us. You just need people there as backup.
I think the drivers are there on long hauls and big stuff and the high speed.
You
You
don't need
probably
them.
don't need them, but they're a good fail safe because if
I agree with that. Yeah, and what I'm saying, Dave, you don't need them. Don't need them.
well, I'm certainly not getting on a fucking aeroplane without a pilot.
Well, you say that, but you do because they go on autopilot.
Yeah, I know. My missus goes on autopilot most of the time when I come on and do all my shows and my podcasts, so she knows all about an autopilot. Mikey, we're coming up for 11:15. Should we sort of summarise on the show now? And
I still think we should go the SF Mikey Babes or something. Like Royal Britannia and all that. We can have our own private bar in the. We could set sail into the South Seas of the Thames and go up and down. And sort of sail the Bonnie Regent Canal and things like that.
That'd be lovely, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I mean, we could all get our little boats together. We could have a little sailing club. Oh, hello, sailor. Hello, darlings. We can do all that. Well, I think my curtains are nicer in my boat. How about yours? But I mean, it's so we could do have a
Oh, I do love you, Michael. You are funny.
I think we should have our own. I think we should. We can have nice pink boats. And we can have it. We could call it the LBQ, GJWX, whatever.
You can't keep up, love. You just can't keep up nowadays. You can't keep up with and so how do we, as a people, even Churchill himself, you quite like Churchill. I'm not a lover of any politician, but Churchill said, if you've got more than 1,000 statutes, you destroy all respect to the law. It's true.
There is. I mean, Churchill. Churchill was probably one of the greatest. Was one of the greatest of all. I mean, I've got what is it? He said, hang on, that's it. I've got a great one. This is probably about one of the best things he ever said. I have to read it. It says, "We make a living by what we get. We make a life by what we give," and that's probably true. And it is, and that is, it really is. Oh, look, Dave, we're invited. He's going to take us out on a date all weekend. There you go.
We're going up to the Thames. He says we're going to go up to the Thames and throw eggs at Parliament from the water. Why not?
Works. Only eggs. Eggs? You mean grenades?
We can do a modern day Bob Geldof with the Brexit stuff. We can get up there and get our campaign boards out on the boats. Come on.
I've got a great idea, Dave. We can all sing sea shanties. Or a bit of yo ho ho and a bottle of rum and all that.
Ho 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 and a bottle. Anyway, listen, guys, girls, I want to thank you.
I'm going to buy a parrot.
A stuffed one, I do hope, dear boy.
I don't want none of that hello sailor, darling, either. None of that. None of that at all.
Yeah, Cayman's made a bit of a point here before we disappear. Did we really win the war?
No.
And I'm not sure we did. And I certainly don't think Hitler died in the bunker. I think he popped up a few months or whatever later up in Argentina and ended up his life out there. And there's many witness statements to say that that's exactly what happened. But summing up tonight, Michael, what's your last final thoughts before we disappear, gorgeous?
Well, I mean, we're living in contentious times, aren't we? You look around the world and all you see is derision, misery, upset. No, there is no happiness left in this world.
Happiness.
It's really been, and it's up to us, the normal people, like people watching this, me, you, to sort of to walk around and smile and remind people. And they say, "What are you smiling at?" Say nothing. I'm just happy to be alive. I'm just happy that I'm not deformed. I've got food in my belly. I've got a house. I've got a roof over my head. You know, rather
Amen.
than sit there and pine about what you don't got, think about how good you are, what you have got. You know,
Yeah.
and don't sit there thinking about he's got more than I have, because that doesn't help you at all. All that does is makes you miserable. That's avarice, which is one of the mortal sins. Isn't it one of the deadly sins? Avarice is one of the deadly
I'm
sins.
not sure, darling. I've not heard of that word really.
Oh, Jesus, no, but I mean, I have to say that. Then that's it. I mean, people got to learn. Got to remember that life's for living, and not for being, not spend most of it being miserable. We can all say
Amen.
be miserable, but what, you know, there's a lot of happiness in here. You know, you've got to think about how happy you were when your kids were born, how happy you were when you fall in love. You've got how happy you were when the sun's shining and you're sitting and thinking it doesn't get better than that, and then you go home and it's miserable and all that. You know, you've got to bring that sunshine with you. And I want to leave everybody thinking, you know, if they see me and they start thinking, well, you're a fucking idiot, but you're laughing or you're smiling, and that's all it comes down to.
Yeah, right.
Let's
Cedric Edwards.
let's
Cedric Edwards did a podcast today, and he basically said, "Just remember, people, just come back to love," and that's a good one, guys and girls. We'll see you next week. Michael, say goodbye to everybody.
Goodbye, everybody.
And it's a goodbye from me and a goodbye from him, guys and girls. We'll see you next week.
And we both got glasses.
Yeah. Take care, people.